Hey, what's up, Walking Dead fans? Welcome to Chronochord Media and our coverage of Fear the Walking Dead, right here on Chronochord on TV, where we review and react to episodes of our favorite TV shows. My name is J.C., along with my co-host C-Dub, and we're just gonna breeze through this pilot episode and give some initial reactions and predictions for the rest of the first season of Fear the Walking Dead. Now, of course, in the original series, when we meet Rick Grimes in the pilot for The Walking Dead in the hospital, he has no idea what's going on. He's pretty much the only human around. And of course, this is a stark difference to Fear the Walking Dead, where everyone's alive. This is pre-zombie apocalypse. And we meet Nick, who is the junkie son of the main female protagonist. We saw this clip online a few days before it premiered, but Nick wakes up in an abandoned church where junkies hang out, and he discovers a girl eating someone's face. Nope, he's not hallucinating, even though he thinks he is, and others do. This girl's straight up zombie. C-Dub, what did you think of that intro to Fear the Walking Dead?
Man, I was very pleasantly surprised by that. I'm not sure if this is intentional, but I really liked the symbolism of the show opening in a church, a really dilapidated church that had been abandoned, and the imagery that kind of put in the viewers' heads as light and dark. Of course, the church being traditionally a holy place of happiness, and it's a den for a bunch of junkies, and that's where we see the first zombie attacks. So not sure if that was intentional by the writers and directors, but it definitely impacted me as a viewer.
Eventually, the boyfriend Travis gets Nick to say what he saw, and Travis kind of believes him, you can tell. He's not doubting him as much as others were. And Madison has another child, a daughter, who attends the high school that she works at and Travis works at. It looks like she's heading to UC Berkeley after high school, and she has a boyfriend who is an artist. One main scene that stuck out to me is when the student walks through the metal detector with a small knife in his pocket. He then talks to Madison, the guidance counselor. After a lot of prodding and probing, he reveals that he's afraid of what's on the news out there. There seems to be a virus in 5 other states that is taking a toll on the population, and I think this teenager has a good idea of what's really going on. So then we get more backstory, piece by piece, about basically what's a mixed family of 2 divorcees. We also see Travis calling his son and his ex-wife, trying to get the son to come out and see him on a visitation weekend. Obviously, the son is not too keen on that idea. So really, we have the writers of the show setting the premise of somehow they're going to have to work together to survive at some point, I believe. We see Nick escaping from the hospital, and he's back on the street. His mom and her boyfriend Travis go to the hospital. The nurse is saying, "There's nothing I can do, call the cops. People are dying all over the hospital." And then we see Nick trying to contact, I would assume, his dealer. I felt like this first episode kind of revolved around Nick and his story. C-Dub, what did you think of the actor's performance as Nick?
You know, I have to say right off the bat, looks-wise, I was struck immediately in the first scene where Nick wakes up. And his movement, how he walked, and how it was almost kind of zombie-like. And I think there was a parallel there between Nick's drug addiction and the zombies. But not only that, right off the bat, Nick struck me as resembling quite a bit Johnny Depp from his younger years in roles like Crybaby, and of course my favorite, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Kid's got a good look. He's not a great actor just yet, but I think he was certainly believable enough, manic enough, and perhaps whacked out enough to really capture the drug addict vibe very well.
I thought he did a pretty good job in the role of Nick. The actor's name is Frank Delane. Really not much to complain about there. I'm sure it's tough to play that role. We also see the daughter hanging around school with her boyfriend, and they're supposed to meet up at Venice Beach for the sunset. He does not show up, and if you look at her text messages, it says, "You better be dead." And throughout the rest of the episode, she is texting him. She never gets a response. Safe to say that he is probably part of the apocalypse now. She also seems to have a give-up mentality with her drug-addicted brother, but at times she shows a little more love than you would expect. Hopefully, if they both survive, I look for that dynamic to develop. We see Travis and Madison out on the town looking for Nick after he escapes the hospital. You can kind of get that sense that things are starting to go straight to hell in Los Angeles. And that is evidenced by them on the interstate at nighttime, and they pull up to an exit ramp which is blocked off by cars and cops and helicopters and all that stuff. And they get out of the truck for a second. The helicopter above them is saying, "Please stay in your vehicle." And then there's some gunshots that ring out, and they get back in the truck and take off down the interstate. The next day, you see people on social media and portable devices checking out a leaked video from the news chopper, which shows a dead guy on a stretcher reaching over and pulling down a paramedic, biting him. There's more footage of him being shot multiple times, and then finally a headshot, which takes him out. Really, you get that sense that pandemonium is reaching the city. There's a state of unrest. No one knows what's causing this. Finally, Nick gets together with his friend Calvin, and you can tell Calvin's kind of suspicious of Nick, especially when he heard from Madison that the cops were questioning him in the hospital, and he's got that gleam in his eye like he's trying to be friendly, but he's got other ulterior motives. They take a ride to the LA River, and Nick thinks that Calvin is going to the trunk to maybe get some drugs for him to do or something. But really, Calvin grabs a gun, and his plan is to silence Nick. He thinks Nick might have snitched on him to the police. Somehow, Nick finds enough junkie strength to muscle the gun away from Calvin and shoot him in the chest. He falls over and dies, and Nick's freaking out. He doesn't know what to do. And at that point, at least me personally, I figured that he would call his mother, and he did. Her and Travis show up to the location, and they cannot find Calvin's body. Going in reverse in the tunnel, and in the side view mirror, Travis sees a limping Calvin. He thinks he's still alive. Him and Madison walk up to Calvin to see if he's okay. And of course, he's got those cloudy zombie eyes that we're so used to in The Walking Dead. And he almost bites Madison on the wrist. I thought he got her, but he did not, I guess. Fortunately, Nick was aware enough to back over Calvin in the truck, hopefully killing him once and for all. Again, this is not a hallucination, Nick. Nick again runs over Calvin, sending him flying back into the area where he was shot originally. And after a few moments, he comes back to life again, and it's right there that Madison and Travis definitely know that things will change forever. I did expect more zombie action in episode 1. Regardless of that, what a great job by the producers and writers of this show in setting the tone and creating the backstory for each of these characters, so we can fully appreciate their arc or lack of arc if they are to be eaten by zombies. You never know. C-Dub, if you had to guess right now what character will not make it through the end of season 1, who would it be?
JC, I'm going to have to go with Travis's son, Chris. I have a feeling that Chris and perhaps his mother, Travis's ex-wife, I don't think they're going to make it. I think something's going to happen, and I believe that'll be a major story arc weighing on Travis in the future, perhaps as a way to input some drama into the storyline.
If there's one character that I think will not make it through season 1 of Fear the Walking Dead, it's got to be Nick. He just seems too weak. And there's no way that he's going to be able to survive the craziness that will ensue very, very soon in LA. I've got to give this premiere pretty high marks. I feel like it just, again, set the stage for something bigger and better to come in the following episodes of Fear the Walking Dead. C-Dub, what did you think of the premiere episode?
I gotta say, as someone who has not previously watched the Walking Dead series, I was pleasantly surprised. I think they're doing a good job of capturing the chaos here toward the end of episode 1 and the confusion. People, of course, in Nick's case, everybody thinks he's just a heroin junkie when in fact he's telling the truth, and it all did happen that way. And, I'm really looking forward to seeing that increase as the season goes along. The panic start to sit in. Of course, the authorities, kind of shut everything down. I was really pleasantly surprised by this show, and I gotta say, AMC, you have me hooked.
All right, that wraps it up here for Fear the Walking Dead Episode 1, Reactions and Review from Chronochord on TV. Thanks for joining us. Please leave some comments on this video with what you thought about the premiere of Fear the Walking Dead. Please subscribe. We're going to be covering every episode of Fear the Walking Dead as well as the new season of The Walking Dead, which premieres October 11th on AMC television. For C-Dub, I'm JC. We will see you next time at the zombie apocalypse.